Welcome back, handymen and women, to the Bulletproof Handyman Business YouTube channel. So today we are talking about how to get property managers, how to get on with them, how to make them become your clients. And if you follow my system, I'm going to tell you from experience, if you follow this system, you're basically guaranteed to get at least one. In fact, you may not make it through the day, and the one day that you're going to put into this, you probably won't make it to the end of the day without having at least one, if not a couple, that are not only willing but excited to have you on. So I'm going to use Jobber for a lot of what I do to do this, because I'm actually about to be trying to get one new property manager. Not in the same way that I'm going to show y'all, because I'm just going after the one company, as opposed to just trying to find any company. You guys are probably in the position where you just need to find a property manager rather than a very specific one. But I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to tell you how I've done it in the past, and we're going to just come up with a system here that, like I said, if you follow this system, you're probably going to end up with a property manager. And by the way, there's going to be a link in the description for Jobber. It's an exclusive 20% off for the first 6 months. If you use my link, you'll get that exclusive discount. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until there's like another promotion going on. There's not another one at the moment, so mine is the only discount you can get right at this particular point in time. So, step one, this is what I did starting off this business, and I've done this a few times whenever I've needed more property managers. Step one is simply to make a spreadsheet. Now that can be written down on a piece of paper, or you can make an actual Excel spreadsheet in your computer. I make it in my computer personally. But your spreadsheet needs to have a slot for the name of the business, the address of the business, the name of any contacts there if you have any, as well as their email addresses, and then the main contact line for the business. And once you've got the spreadsheet made, you're going to be using it not only to reach out, but also to track everybody. Because what you're going to find, for example, here in Tucson, when I made my first spreadsheet, I wrote down something like 65 different property management companies, 65 real estate companies and whatnot that all came up under property management that offer property management services. So you don't want to just start randomly contacting a dozen of them, and then later on, say 2 months later, you need another property manager and you can't remember which ones you've already contacted and which ones you haven't. And you don't want to contact them all at once, because then you'll get too many clients and you're not going to be able to keep up with them. So I start out with like a dozen, hoping to get 1 or 2 out of those dozen. So where do you find them? Well, number one, like I said, Google. That's the fastest way. Another good way, and it's one of the things that I've done recently, is I go into Zillow and I just look for rentals. You can filter Zillow to only show you rentals, and you can go to lots of other websites that also will show you rentals in your area. And if you go look for the rentals, when you find them, you're going to find that most sites, especially Zillow, is going to tell you who manages that property so that you can contact them. So I would go to Zillow and I would start looking at houses for rent on Zillow. A few extra little like tips here, I guess, is what you really want to see. Like for a property management company that's going to make you some money, what you really want to see is you want to see a bunch of spec homes. Now, I hate spec homes as a homeowner. I don't want to own a spec home. But when it comes to working on them, spec homes make really good rental properties. And if you find a company that has mostly spec homes, this is going to let you know that they're a slightly more professional company and they're slightly more picky about who they work with and what homes they bring on board. If you start seeing a lot of like really crappy homes, like old slump block homes and stuff that just look kind of old and look kind of crappy, you're going to find that it's not that those are horrible homes for any property management company to have. They're all going to have some. But if you see a lot of those under one company, what that tells you is that's a budget company. The reason that those homes are with that company is the homes cost less, so the people who got into that home to turn it into a rental, they had less to spend. They're generally just more budget conscious. And the same thing, the property management company, they went with a property management company that was cheap. And if the property management company's cheap and their homeowners are cheap, they're going to end up being cheap with you. So I'm not saying you have to avoid them. But if you've got a whole bunch to pick from, let's go ahead and pick from the ones that are full of spec homes. Now, if you're new, one thing you might not want to do is try to get on board with some of the bigger, nicer ones where all their homes are like $1 million homes. And the reason for that is they're going to be very picky about who they choose. So you don't want to blow your shot with them when you're coming around brand new and they have a conversation with you and you can't really keep up with the conversation because you're not familiar with how the property management system works and the lingo and whatnot. So maybe try to get on with one of those mid-range, just full of spec homes type of companies to get your feet wet and to get some experience. And then once you're confident that not only do you know what you're doing, but when you're confident that you understand property managers really well, then go after some of those bigger companies with the more expensive homes. So you're gonna make your spreadsheet. You're gonna write down all of the, whether it's on the computer or on paper, you're gonna write down all the names and addresses, just all your data, man. Get all of your data collected first so you're not jumping around all over the place. And then, now what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to be using Jobber in order to sort of, I'm going to use Jobber as a sales technique to help get my property managers, because there's a lot of stuff they're going to like. So once I've got my spreadsheet down, I'm going to come into Jobber here, and I'm actually going to be creating right here under create client, click. There we go. And then I'm going to put all that information. Now I'm going to do multiple things with this. Number one, I'm going to use it as a sales technique. But number two, since I don't use the actual spreadsheet anymore, I'm going to transfer all of that information into here. And I'm going to have the notes and stuff. Like if I connect with them in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to come in here and create a job out of that connection that I made with them and write down the notes. I'm going to write down the name of the property manager, whether if she talked about her kids or something, I'm going to write down that she had kids. Every bit of information that I might find useful in the future, I'm going to put into a job and I'm going to write down under that property manager if I'm not working with them yet, if I just want to make sure that I keep track of everybody I've contacted. But I'm going to put them all as a client in here. And then I'll tell you what else I'm going to do with Jobber later, but I just wanted to show you that because I'm going to have them all in as a client before I show up at their office. And when I get to their office, I'm going to be able to show them in my system on my laptop that they're already a client in my system, and they're just going to see a sense of professionalism and of having your shit together, which is kind of always, it's what all of this boils down to really in the end, is if you want these clients, they're looking for professionals. They can't they do not have the time in their day to be trying to manage like 12 inexperienced, unprofessional handymen. It's so many phone calls and back and forth and questions and just too many unknowns. They want a business who's just going to take some workload off of their hands. Now, the next thing you want to do is, hold on. So the next thing you want to do is you want to have 12, you're going to get 12 packages printed up that you're going to take to each one of these property management companies. Your package is going to have your business license, your business insurance, your vehicle insurance if you want, and that may be on your business insurance, but definitely your business license, your business insurance, a copy of your bonding paperwork if you're bonded. If you have any other licenses like electrical, plumbing, general contractor, HVAC, pest, all of that stuff. If you have any other licenses, print them up. Print up your jobs list. This is going to be a list of all of the jobs that you are capable of doing, that you're willing to do for them if they send them to you. And for those of you who don't know, it'll be in the description here, and it's on the descriptions of pretty much all my other videos. I do offer my jobs list with pricing. That's more than what I do. It's a list that I'm sure I've missed a couple things, but it's basically every single job you could ever fathom a property manager asking a handyman to do on a normal home in a normal neighborhood, just as the business is running as usual. So you want to have your jobs list ready to give them because they're going to ask them what you do. And if they ask you what you do and what you don't do, and you have to sit there and think about it forever, and you don't list off half of the things and you forget half of them, it doesn't feel professional. Just have a printed list ready and make it a pretty one. Don't just go into Word and just type out a list. Go ahead and like put a heading up there that says, you know, list of services offered by Jack's Handyman Company, and then have them broken down like mine is into plumbing, electrical, etc., etc. Have your jobs list printed out and ready. And also, if you have employees, have your workman's comp insurance printed out and ready. And if you don't have employees, go ahead and every state's going to have a waiver for workman's comp because it's not required if you have no employees. And the property management company is going to want that waiver. And sometimes they have their own form you can fill out. It's basically just an affidavit that you sign where you're just saying, hey, I promise you, here's my signature on a legal piece of paper where I'm telling you legally and officially I do not have employees, and I understand that if I acquire them, I will need to get workman's comp, but until I acquire employees, I don't have to have workman's comp. So you want to get all that stuff I just listed out: business license, insurance, bonding, other licenses, jobs list, and workman's comp waiver, and you want to get all those printed up. Print them on... Dude, go get some nice folders, like paper folders. They cost $3 each. Just some decent, like, nice folders. Print this up on some halfway decent paper, not the thinnest copy paper you can find. Put it in the folder. You want to go a little further? Buy some little 3-ring binders. You know, print a cover page to go in that plastic sleeve on the front with your business logo, your address, your phone number, all of that good stuff. And give them a package. You want to hand them a package that's useful to them. Oh, by the way, you can also, if you want, you're not really going to need to, but if you want, fill out a direct deposit form for them so that they can put you directly into their direct deposit form. You can also throw that into this package. And make sure all of these things that you can, you know, like your jobs list and stuff that I was saying, you know, have it on good paper, have your logo on there somewhere if possible, your name and address and your phone number. And what you want to do is make 12 packages. 12. Now, once you get your packages made, your next step is going to be to actually drive around to all of these property management companies. And you're not going to call them in advance. You're going to just show up at the front door. You're going to try to hit 12 of them in one day. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it shouldn't be more than 5 to 10 minutes of drive time max when you're hitting that many, because you should be able to just zigzag your way across town. And I'm going to show you how Jobber will optimize your route for you. But even without Jobber, you should still be able to just look at them on a map and figure out what order to do them in. And you're just going to show up at the front door. However, before you start that day, you're going to want to wash your truck or your van or whatever, clean it out inside and out. Because yes, I have had maintenance directors of property management companies that I wanted to get on with that said, hey, can we meet sometime? And I'll meet them, and when I meet, they'll ask to look at the truck or the van. And the reason for that is because you can tell a lot about a handyman by how his truck or van looks. Mine's usually pretty messy, but I'm usually working a lot. But a lot of these guys, you'll be able to look in and you'll be able to go, okay, this guy hasn't cleaned out his truck or his van in like a month. Like when there's trash just piled up, obviously they don't have their shit together. That doesn't appear like a business who's going to handle problems for them. That appears like a guy who's going to be a problem for them. So let me take you over to Jobber and tell you what I'll be doing here. So first I'm going to show you the route optimization. We'll go to the home screen so we always go right back to the home screen so we know that we're all starting from the same place. Come up here in the top right to this gear icon, click on settings. Now what I've done already is I've already gone through and I've put in, I think 5, they're fake, like by the way, don't use my addresses that you're going to see on here because they're all fake. I made them up. But I've created 5 property manager jobs in Tucson and I've put them in here. So after you go over here and you click on settings, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to come down under team organization. There's a slot that says route optimization. When you do the route optimization, I'll show you what it's going to do. So all of these jobs here, looks like I got 7 of them in here. So these are all property managers, like fake property managers I set up. And when you do route optimization on here, you're going to come up here. It'll ask you first to click which ones you want to add. So you're going to have to click them. And then once you've added them, you come over here to optimize. And it's going to actually tell you the fastest route to take to hit all of these. So, you know, I could show you a million different ways to do this, but this route that it's giving is going to be the most optimal route for you. It's similar to the software service that like UPS and FedEx and those guys use. It's for service providers in general. People are going to be driving all over. And you can use this also to plan your jobs if you want. I typically don't, but that's because I prioritize my jobs. I don't prioritize them by minimizing drive time. That's part of my prioritization, but it's not all of it, so I don't use that. But for going and finding property managers, I have used this, where I actually just put them all in here, have it optimize the route, and then so before you go, the day of, like I said, you want to get, or the day before rather, would be better, you want to get your truck washed, you want to clean it inside and out, organize your tools, wear yourself a long sleeve button-up shirt, you know, a hat if you have a decent hat, but look groomed. Don't go in shorts with tennis shoes, don't go with sandals, don't go in a t-shirt, don't go in anything dirty. Go ahead and the day before, get your hair cut, get your beard trimmed up, make yourself look like you own a business, because that's what they're looking for, is a business. So before you're going to go, like I said, you're going to get yourself all cleaned up and stuff. And then finally, the day of, let me check these notes here. Oh yeah, I wrote some other stuff down. Go ahead and put a tape measure on your side, on your hip, you know, because contractors and handymen tend to have a tape measure on their hip, and get one of those aluminum clipboards that you can like open up and put paperwork inside and close. That way you can like open your clipboard, grab their package out and hand it to them. And again, it just gives the appearance that you're somebody who does this a lot and knows what they're doing. So now, the day of. Now it's the day. You've set one day aside, and I've promised you that you're going to get at least one property manager by following this particular guidelines. The day of. You don't want to arrive before 8. I would even say maybe 9 o'clock, because we've got 12 properties to hit. So here's how I look at it, is you've got 10 minutes of drive time between each job, and you've got 20 minutes at each property management company. You shouldn't be there more than 20 minutes unless they really, really like you and are very excited to have you. Let me put it this way, if they have a million questions and you need to stay longer than 20 minutes, that's a very good sign. They're not going to waste their time asking you a million questions if they don't want to work with you. So let's say it's more than 20 minutes. Well, if you're there more than 20 minutes, you probably just got a property manager. But anyways, we're going to figure 30 minutes per property manager, per property management company that you're going to stop at. 10 minutes of driving, 20 minutes to be there. So to hit 12 of them, you're going to need 6 hours. So you start at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 1500 is 3 p.m. So you're going to go 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You're going to hit 12 property management companies. And each one of them, you're not going to call ahead. You're just going to show up, knock on the door, and if you're able to get inside, and some of them, maybe they'll be work from home that day, that's okay. Just move on to the next one. But if you have 12 on your list, you'll get a property manager that day. So you're going to knock on the door, and you're going to smile. You're going to look everybody that you meet. You're going to smile, you're going to look them in the eyes, and you're going to shake their hand. And you're going to keep looking them in the eyes when you shake their hand. Not like a weirdo, but I'm just saying, look them in the eyes, smile, shake their hand. Take some deep breaths before you go in if you have to. You don't need to be nervous. You're a business providing a service. You're not a guy asking for a favor, okay? You're not ruining their day. You're not interrupting anything. They have a very boring job, and if anything, you're just breaking up their day a little bit and making it ever so slightly more interesting. And one of those 12 at least is going to be excited, because 1 out of 12, always 1 out of 12, is short a handyman. They just got rid of one, or they didn't get rid of him. He just stopped calling them 2 weeks ago, or they're having really big problems with their current handyman, and they've been looking for a new one, but they can't fire him yet because they need somebody to replace him. So look them in the eyes, shake their hand, etc., and just be honest with them. Just say, hey, my name's Jack, and I have a handyman company. We service property managers exclusively, and we're looking to grow a little bit, so we're looking to add a couple new managers to our list. Here's the package. Can I tell you about what we do, or do you have any questions? And just go on from there, you know. Try not to be any more nervous than you have to be. If you know how to fake it till you make it, try to fake it till you make it. Don't drink a beer before you go in. Don't go smoke weed to calm yourself down before you go in. You just go in sober with a smile, and keep in mind they're okay. They're fine, right? They're just people, and they're just going to ask you a few questions. And even if they don't want to ask you any questions, even if they say, hey, you know what, we've actually got 3 handymen already, they're all doing a really good job, or they might say something like, hey, we have an exclusive vendor that's the only company we send our work to, that's fine. Smile and say, well, thank you, I appreciate your time. Can I leave one of my packages with you just in case? Open up the package real quick and just go, hey, you know, I've got my business license, my insurance. Oh, by the way, forgot about this, another little tip. Depending on who you have for your insurance, it's usually free with most places. Go ahead and get them listed as additionally insured. So all 12 properties have your insurance provider get you certificates that show the property management company as additionally insured on your insurance. That's an extra step you can take to show them that you're very serious. But yeah, just give them your package of paperwork, show them what's in there real quick, and if they want to ask any questions, that's a very good sign, because they're not going to want to ask you questions if they're not interested. Now let's go into some of the questions, because this is basically it. Like what I've just shown you here is essentially what you have to do. You just follow what I just said to do. You'll have a property manager or four your first day. Now, one of the questions they may ask you, this is going to be a tough one depending on how you're going to go about running your business, but one of the questions they're likely going to ask you is about your rates. It's guaranteed. If they have any interest in working with you at all, they're going to either ask you, what are your rates, what do you charge, or to be more specific, they're probably going to say, what's your trip fee, and what's your hourly rate on top of your trip fee. This is where you're going to have to be very careful about what comes out of your mouth, because you're going to go into this situation really wanting a property manager, and you're going to go into this situation thinking to yourself, I really want them, I should tell them a low number. I should give them a good price because I want them so badly that I'm gonna offer low prices just to get them. It's not the end of the world if you do, but just recognize if that's how you acquire them, then who are you acquiring? Are you acquiring the best property managers, or are you acquiring the budget property managers? Because you don't want budget managers. What you want to do is, before you go in, you need to know your trip fee right off the top of your head for sure, and you need to know what that covers. So for example, some people do a trip fee, and the trip fee doesn't cover anything other than showing up. And then after the trip fee, so let's say they have an $80 trip fee that doesn't cover anything. It's $80 plus $45 an hour, $65 an hour, $80 an hour, $300 an hour, whatever their rate is. Now, what I do is a little bit different from that way, and there's not one that's better or worse or more common, but the other type of trip fee is a trip fee that does include something. So, for example, let's say I'm going to change a shower head. Really fast job. You just by hand, usually you can unscrew the old one and screw the new one on, and boom, the shower head's been changed. Just that simple. Quick and easy job. So my trip fee is $125. If I change a shower head, the whole job is $125 because I didn't have to do anything above and beyond showing up, really. Or if I'm, let's say, a lot of things, if I change like 4 smoke detectors, I'm going to charge the materials cost for the smoke detectors, but the work is included in that $125. So until we get beyond, let's say if it's not roofing, it's not electrical, and it's not plumbing, if it's not those 3 things, if it's not those, and it doesn't take more than 30 minutes, that's nearly always going to fall in the $125 range. If it's plumbing, electrical, or roof, then it's going to be $150 or $165, or, you know, depends on how long I'm there, depends on how much effort goes into it, depends on whether I need to drive to Home Depot or Ace Hardware to pick up some materials, but it's going to be $125 is going to cover a big, vast majority of my single one-off jobs. One-off job means, and again, you should learn some terminology, and I should probably make like a glossary and do a video on terminology, but my trip fee covers most jobs that are one-off jobs. If it's more than 2 items, it's always going to be more than $125 because I'm basically going to call the first item the trip fee. So it's going to, the first item plus the trip fee altogether, that $125 package plus 1 more item, then I'm going to just charge a little bit for that extra item. But know right off the top of your head what your trip fee is and what that trip fee covers. Now, some of you are going to work hourly, and that's okay. You know, there are property managers that want an hourly rate. I don't recommend them. However, as I say many times on this channel, I'm always going to tell you what you should be doing. However, I'm always going to caveat that by saying I understand that if you have a family to feed, you're going to do what you need to do. I still have a family to feed, but there was a time when I did have a family to feed, and I did need to just do what I needed to do. I usually regretted it many, many times until I finally learned my lesson the hard way and said, okay, I'm never dropping my prices again, because every time I get scared and need more money and I drop some prices, all that does for me is it gets me working at a lower wage, and then I don't have the time to go do the other higher paying jobs. So if you're short on work, the trick isn't to offer a low price to get a property manager. The trick is to talk to twice as many property managers, 3 times. The trick is to get more clients, not to lower your price. So they're going to want to know that. They're absolutely going to ask you what your hourly rate is, and this is the part that could get uncomfortable, because like I said, if you want to offer an hourly rate, you go ahead. I'm not going to tell you that you can't, but you really shouldn't, and I never have. What I've always told them when they said, what's your hourly rate, I say, well, my hourly rate depends on a lot of things, because it depends on whether it's plumbing, electrical, roofing, if it's outside in the middle of the summer, if I have to crawl under the house, if I'm exposed to biologics, like if it's a toilet that's filled to the top with poop, or if I have to, let's say, crawl under the house and the underside of the house is full of dog poop. All sorts of different situations. If I'm dealing with mold, if a place is cockroach infested, it depends on so many things, including the skill level required for the job. So I just tell them right off the bat, I just say, hey, I don't have a set hourly rate. However, what I can do for you if you want is you can either send me a limit to the job, like a maintenance limit, and I just won't go over that limit without calling, or if you want to know for each job, then I can just let you know if it's going to be over 125, then I'll just let you know what it's going to be. Or if you want estimates, I can do some estimates on some bigger jobs, although I don't do estimates on smaller jobs. And by the way, now that I've told you how to sort of word that, how to talk to them, and again, it's going to be uncomfortable. It was for me at first, and it's not anymore. Now I just straight up tell people, because I don't need them. When I'm trying to grow before I get to the point that I need to grow. I see that coming down the line. That's why I'm going after this new company, because I've been told that they pay well, they pay on time, they're not micromanagers, and they're really looking for a lot of professionals because they have a lot of houses, and they want just people like me that have a system, that have good software, that know what they're doing, where they can just start sending me work just one after another, and I just knock it all out. So, the hourly rate, don't give them an hourly rate. What was the other thing I was just about to get to? I can't remember what the next thing was. But anyways, they're going to ask you about your hourly rate, and what you're going to tell them is, you know, hey, I can just let you know if it's going to go over one. Oh, in quotes, estimates. So you can say, hey, if you want, I can also just write estimates. However, you should know I don't do free estimates for small jobs. I'll do free estimates for the big jobs, but I don't do free estimates for the smaller jobs. But I can generally give you a ballpark or give you a ceiling, or like I said, tell them if they just have a maintenance limit they can set on the work. And then you can also remind them like, hey, I want to work for you guys for a long time. This is what I said to mine anytime they asked about that, because they're very uncomfortable with not having an hourly rate. And I would just say, hey, I'm building this business to take care of my family. This is my career. I'm not just a guy trying to make some money this week. I'm trying to build a real long-lasting business, and I need real long-lasting relationships with property managers to make this work. So I'm going to keep my pricing within a certain fair range, because if I don't, you're not going to send me any more work. But we can discuss this as time goes on, and if you feel some of my stuff is overpriced, we can talk about that. But otherwise, I have a $125 trip fee. I'll let you know if it's going to go over $125 if you would like me to let you know, or I can give you an estimate if it's a bigger job. So we got all of that out of the way. Just be prepared, I guess, is the main thing. You want to show up. Businesses are prepared. Businesses, when a property manager is thinking of a business, what they're thinking of is an organization that knows what it's doing, an organization that has processes and systems and procedures where it's just business as usual day to day, instead of you being somebody who's just trying to make some money and has a few skills. Even if that's all you are, even if you are just trying to make some money and you have a few skills, you got to start somewhere, but present yourself to them as a business. Now, finally, one of the things I'm going to do, not with specifically, not with these property managers, but one of the things I'm going to be doing with this one that I'm very specifically going after, that it's very important to me that I acquire them as a property manager, is I'm going to come into here in Jobber, and again, this is my demo account, so this is not my account. You're not seeing my stuff. This is the demo account stuff. But I'm actually going to open up this client over here, and I'm going to create probably 15 to 20 jobs. They're all going to be fake jobs, and they're all going to be jobs where I know my pricing that's on the job is going to be the actual pricing that I would be giving, and that's going to look good. Because there are jobs where I charge a little too much for, and there are jobs where I charge too little for. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to write these work orders out. There's going to be like probably 8 of them are going to be one-offs. 8 of them are going to be like punch lists of 3 items, and then another 8 maybe that are like bigger jobs. And then of the 8 that are bigger jobs, it's going to be like 4 of them are going to be open in the system, like waiting to be scheduled, waiting to be worked on. And then the other 4, 2 of those 4 are going to be closed out and invoiced. And then the other 2 out of those last final 4 are going to be itemized estimates. So what I'm going to do is when I show up at their office unannounced and introduce myself, if they're willing to talk to me at all, as soon as I catch any sign of interest at all, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I've already got you guys set up as a client in my software. Now listen, I've done this before. I'm not going to say it worked because the truth is they reached out to me anyways. So they were already hoping I would do some work for them, but this comforted them a little bit because what I said was, hey, I've already got y'all as a client in my system because I think I did some work for y'all a few years back. And they're going to say like, oh, who was the property manager? Or maybe it's one lady who's been there forever and she doesn't remember you. You don't have to remember anything. You can just say, I don't know. You're already in my system though. And then I'm going to bring them up in the system and I'm going to say, okay, look, so here's what I did before I came over today since you were already in my system. What I did was I went and I created these extra jobs and these extra invoices and stuff just so I can show you the client end. And then you take them into the client end. So what you do is you get an email address for whoever it is that you need to be talking to right then and there. You get their email address and you add that email address because remember you've already created them as a client in your system here to make the jobs and get the address and all of that. So once you've done that, you're going to go in and just say, hey, just give me your email address. And as soon as you add that email address, you can just send them anything at all from Jobber through that email address. And what it's going to do is when they open it up, they're going to get access to that client in. And you can say, okay, let's sit down and look through here. And you can show them real quick. Say, here's where you click. And you can see all your open jobs. And you can tell her like, hey, these are obviously not jobs you really sent me, but I wanted to show you the software I use so that you have a good understanding that we're on top of things. So here's a list of hypothetical open jobs as if you had sent them to me. And as you can see, you're able to see when they're scheduled. You're able to see the name and even a picture. Like if you can upload your picture to everybody that you create as somebody that you can assign work to. So both yourself and your workers, you can have the pictures. So you can open up the jobs and say, look, it shows you when it's scheduled. It shows you that it's Jose that's going to be showing up to do this one. Shows you when this one's scheduled, and it's Amber that's going to show up to do that cleaning. And then you can click on quotes, and you can open up the quotes, and you can say, let me show you these line item quotes here. And you can open up the quote, and you can say, look at this. You want to approve that? Click. You want to approve that one? Click. You can click the ones you want to approve. Don't click the ones you don't want to approve. Come down here at the bottom and hit approve. Sign for it, and then boom, and you hit send with an approval, and that sends it to your phone or your laptop, and you can say, look at that, I just got the alert that you approved it. Now I can go ahead and schedule it, and you can just show them the seamlessness of this. And then what's even better, you can show them the request button, so they can make requests for work through your system. So let's say, especially in the smaller companies are actually super nice to work for. A lot of the smaller ones, they don't have a lot of homes, they don't have a lot of work. that's okay, because you don't want to be tied to just one property manager. So if you can get yourself a handful of smaller property managers, the nice thing about them is you typically can have the property manager's phone number, like their actual phone number, where you can call anytime. And trust me, the bigger ones, you can't always do that. They don't want to answer the phone, and they set up systems where it tries to route you anywhere else other than to the property manager. But the smaller ones, you can typically have their phone number. You can typically know them like on a first name basis. They're just much easier to work with. But you can show them in the system how they can see everything in there. And if they don't have a big expensive software system, which most of the smaller ones don't, half of the bigger ones don't even, then instead of them worrying about not having that system and having to track everything through text messages and emails, you can say, hey, by the way, just click on this request button right here. Every job you want me to do, just click that request button, and you just type in the address, the tenant's phone number, everything else, all the info that I need. Hit send on that request button, and I'll receive your request, and I'll convert it on my end. I'll convert it into a job, get the job taken care of, send you an invoice, and then you can open up the invoices and say, look, here's all your invoices, all your fake ones, because I'm going to mark a bunch of those fake jobs before I go. I'm going to mark a bunch of them as invoiced, and I'm going to mark some of them as paid. And then I'm going to have some jobs that I set up with a prior date as if I'm late, so they can see that this system will show them everything that's going on. It'll show what's late, what's coming up, what's not scheduled. It'll show invoices that were paid, invoices that are not yet paid, and invoices that are late on being paid. It's got the request link, like I said. It's got everything, and most of them are really, like, I was paying, I think y'all end up paying like, I think with my discount, y'all pay like $193 a month or something for this. And then if they run promotions, sometimes even less. But I was paying, because I wasn't on a promotion and I didn't use somebody else's link for a discount, I was paying $350 a month for this software. I wouldn't be doing that. I'm successful. I don't mean I'm rich. I'm not rich. I'm always struggling. I always need more money, but I stay busy all day, every day, and I do $600 days. If I'm working for a full day, it's minimum a $600 day for that full day of work. That's what I mean when I say I'm successful. And I was paying for this. I wasn't buying it because it wasn't useful. I was buying it because it worked, because the property managers, it's a $200 a month investment that you're making, but for that $200 a month, all your property managers just have this sense that they are working with a professional. So that's why I use it. By the way, for the route optimization, I think you have to be a Grow plan member, maybe Connect and Grow. I'm going to do a video soon anyways, covering the different packages, because a lot of y'all, when you sign up, you end up emailing me trying to figure out what package to buy. So I think instead of replying to everybody with like the 12 things that I think are the important things, like 12 questions you need to answer to know which package to buy, instead of that, I'm just going to do a video soon so I can start just sending everybody to the video. But yeah, I'm going to use this software to sort of convince them that they want to work with my company, because again, it's the same reason you washed your truck, wore nice clothes, put a tape measure on your belt, came in with a clipboard, smile, shake their hand, look them in the eye. This is part of that. Having Jobber is another way of showing them that you are a professional business and they don't need to worry. It just lets them know, like, hey, we know what the hell we're doing. You send us work, we send you invoices, and you can wash your hands of the whole maintenance mess. So I believe that is about it for how to get property managers. If y'all could, whether you comment or whether you just email me personally, bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com, let me know how things go. Let me know if and when you're setting this up, if and when you're optimizing your route, if you were able to hit all 12 in a day, what the responses were from the property managers, because trust me, and it would be very useful if y'all could actually put it in the comments, because other people can read the comments, because what they're going to find, and what I always find, anytime I send somebody out and say try to stop at 12 of, put together 12 packages and stop at 12 of them all in one day, they usually tell me that by the third or fourth one, they already had one property manager who not only said yes, but was excited. I wanted to send them work right away, because when a property manager loses a handyman, they're screwed. Like, they're scared. When they lose that handyman, he probably already has 10 or 12 jobs that are still open, and now they need somebody to do those. And those have already been out for a while. Plus, they've got all the new jobs coming in. So let me know how it goes, guys. I'm almost certain, I'm 99% sure every single one of y'all is probably going to get 1 or 2 or 3 property managers in that first day. So let me know how it goes. If y'all have any questions, email me, comment. I'll reply to the comments. However you want to get in touch with me, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to be doing in my next video is going to be my next video is for sure actually going to be the breakdown of the plans and pricing for Jobber, in case y'all have any questions about that. But you can still also feel free to email me about that as well. And if I have time, I'm going to try to get on later tonight and do a live stream. I doubt I'll have time, but I'm going to try to, so keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, you guys email me, comment, do whatever you need to do to get in touch with me if you have any questions. I hope you all are out there killing it, and I'll talk to you later.